Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick or the Notorious Fantasy back at today with another fantasy football video. In today's video, I got Week 14 waiver wire ads. Now, I know either playoffs are 1 week away from you or it is playoff time. And baby, we're going to get you these W's and we're going to eat a fantasy football championship W. And you better believe it. Let's get right into this Week 14 waiver wire ads. But before I can do that, I'd like to give you guys a word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite way to play daily fantasy football. Now, Overlay now also offers NBA and also NBA slash NFL games. So if you guys are into the NBA as well, obviously you can come play that. But I'm going to be talking about NFL here today. Now, it is a very simple game, but I'm going to be talking about how it works first. Now, there's 10 max lineups, which obviously gives you more chances to win, but also doesn't let those sharps, those computer-generated programs to dominate in those games, have like 100 plus entries. Now, the $20 progressive game is definitely the game to play for football. It is $22. Obviously, if you're top 10%, you get 9 times your buy-in. But if you hit that beautiful 12-0, that progressive bonus, you get over $8,700, and it's still going to be rising all the way until Sunday. So you guys got to make sure you check that out. Now, the game is different every single week. Never know what the matchups will be posted. It's pretty much you versus the board. You only need to worry about 2 records, yours and the payoff cut. Now, there's also head-to-head contests that are 10 pick rate. It's amazingly small, and bad records win all the time. The more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot is going to be. Now, I'm going to show you guys here real quick a strategy that I like to use. Now, when you're playing the game, you need to make 12 picks plus 2 alternate picks to obviously help if someone gets hurt or something, that you can use one of those alternate picks. Now, one of my favorite strategies to do here is select a quarterback and their wide receiver. So I would go with my main man, Philip Rivers here over Daniel Jones, and then scroll down here, scroll a bit down until I find my friend Keenan Allen, and then take him and go with the quarterback and wide receiver stack. That's something I found out it helps me do better on Overlay DFS. So make sure you check out OverlayDFS.com, link down below in the description. Come and play with me. Let's have a great week this week on Overlay DFS.com. And we are back. Make sure to check out OverlayDFS.com, link down below in the description. Let's get right into this Week 14 waiver wire ads. First up on the list, we got Alexander Mattison, running back of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, if Dalvin Cook misses time, he will be an amazing fill-in for your lineup. Now, right now, we can see that Cook has a clavicle injury. He's saying he can manage the pain. He's saying this, he's saying that. Some players miss 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks for injuries like this, so we don't really know right now. It may not even be clear by the time waivers actually hit tomorrow night. Or tonight, as I should say. I'm recording this at night, obviously, after Dalvin Cook got hurt. But we may not know until after that. So it is kind of a toss-up with Alexander Mattison. Personally, I would advise picking him up, and you would definitely need to pick him up if you have Dalvin Cook. He is vital to your team, because if Dalvin Cook misses an extended amount of time, Alexander Mattison will definitely be able to fill in and be a solid fill-in for Dalvin Cook. Right now, Dalvin Cook may not play, but it's not a guarantee whether he's in or out. So I think Alexander Mattison is definitely still a solid pickup for fantasy football this week and for the coming weeks if Cook is out for a decent amount of time. Now on to the next back. We got Darwin Thompson, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now we have kind of the same scenario with Dalvin Cook as we got here for Darwin Thompson. If Damian Williams and Darrell Williams both miss time, he will be a great pickup even with LaShawn McCoy on the field. Now the question is, will Damian Williams be back with his rib injury? Will Darrell Williams be back after he hurt his hammy? Who really knows if they'll play this week? It is kind of up in the air, but I still think that Darwin Thompson is definitely worth a pickup, because if those guys miss, Darwin Thompson could absolutely play great for your fantasy football team this week and potentially skull fuck your opponent. Now, week 13, he filled in quite well for when Darrell Williams exited with an injury, a hamstring injury. Like I said, week 13 against the Oakland Raiders, 11 touches for 44 yards and 1 touchdown, 10.4 PPR points. So a great game out of Darwin Thompson that could be elevated with a lot more touches, given Darrell and Damian Williams are both out of the game. Next running back here, we got Darius Geis, running back of the Washington Redskins. Now, I know, last week, I burned Darius Geis to the ground. I said, this motherfucker screwed us all over. He looked great. Then he shit the bed. Then this week, you know what he did against the Carolina Panthers? He gave the Carolina Panthers an ass whooping of the century. He averages 13.3 PPR points per game this year. He's only played in like 4 games. But I'm going to believe in him, and I'm going to pick him up because At the end of the day, there's people that you're going to be picking up now are kind of wild cards. Mr. Alexander Madison, kind of a wild card. Mr. Darwin Thompson, kind of a wild card. Darius Geis, at least you know for sure he is going to start next week and get a decent amount of touches. Now, he balled out last week against the Carolina Panthers. He gave them the ass whooping of the century, like I said. He scored 27 PPR points on 10 touches for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns plus 2 receptions on 3 targets for 8 yards. So obviously a huge boom game for Darius Geis after absolute shit in his pants last week. The one thing to worry about Darius Geis is they are still using old man Adrian Peterson in that offense. Adrian Peterson is still getting touches. He is still getting work. And Darius Geis has not eclipsed 10 touches in any of the 4 games he has played this year. So that does worry me. But obviously, that first game he got hurt in, and he's played 3 games in a row now. But I am worried about the fact that AP gets a lot of touches. But at the end of the day, Darius Geis is still worthy of a pickup because 10 touches a game, you can still get some solid opportunity with that, especially getting some work in the passing game. Now, onto the final running back, I believe, to pick up. We got Benny Snell, running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, with Connor questionable, and in my humble opinion, he's probably not going to play. Snell should play well. Now, Benny Snell, has outscored Samuels in 2 straight games in James Conner's absence. Week 12 against the Cincinnati Bengals, 21 touches for 98 yards and 1 reception on 1 target for 5 yards, 11.3 PPR points. And this week, or last week, I should say, against the Cleveland Brownies, 16 touches for 63 yards and 1 touchdown plus 1 reception on 1 target for 4 yards, 13.7 PPR points. So an absolutely big game for Benny Snell 2 weeks in a row. I think Benny Snell is definitely a safe option going forward while James Conner is out. It seems like Samuels is not much of the plan. It is really just my man, Benny Snell Jr. Now onto the wide receivers. My first wide receiver here is Deebo Samuel, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. So if you guys have enjoyed thus far, please make sure to knock one time on that subscribe button and hit it. It would really mean a whole lot to me. And you guys are going to want to win your fantasy football championship. So by you clicking that, it gives you an even better chance to kissing that beautiful trophy. Mwah. You know what I'm saying, boys? And girls. There are some girls that watch these videos. So we got Deebo Samuels, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, even with Kittle and Sanders in the lineup, he has still been performing. Obviously, you can tell that Sanders may be a bit banged up still because he has not been performing up to his expectations of how he played before he got hurt. But he's still obviously out there getting snaps and getting the ball thrown to him. So even with that happening and Kittle being such a big part of the offense, Deebo Samuels is still eating and scoring a lot of fantasy points. He has 4 good games in a row now. Week 10 against the Seattle Seahawks, 8 receptions on 11 targets for 112 yards, 19.2 PPR points. Week 11 against the Arizona Cardinals, 8 receptions on 10 targets for 134 yards, 21.4 PPR points. Week 12 against the Green Bay Packers, 2 receptions on 2 targets for 50 yards and 1 touchdown, 13 PPR points. A week 13 against a pretty good Baltimore Ravens defense, 2 receptions on 4 targets for 41 yards and 1 touchdown for 14.1 PPR points. So even in the rain, even in a game that should be difficult for Mr. Deebo Samuel, he still went out there and performed last week against the Baltimore Ravens. So I see no reason why Deebo Samuel can't be a guy that you throw in your flex every single week for the next coming couple of games until you win your beautiful fantasy football championship. Next game, and by next game I mean next player here, we got Cole Beasley, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills. Cole Beasley had an absolute feast on Thanksgiving Day against the Dallas Cowboys last week. And that bumped his average up from about 11 PPR points to 12.5 PPR points per game this year, which is quite good. Even being the number 2 offense or the number 2 option on Josh Allen's offense, he is still performing great. Obviously, he is a very, very, very safe play in PPR. He scores about 12.5 points per game. Obviously, that's been elevated by his great performance the last 2 weeks. Now, his last 4 weeks stats have also looked quite good. Week 10 against the Cleveland Browns, 4 of 6 for 74 yards, 11.4 PPR points. Week 11 against the Miami Dolphins, 4 for 4, like at Wendy's, for 38 yards, 7.8 PPR points. Week 12 against the Denver Broncos, 6 of 9 for 76 yards and 1 touchdown, 19.6 PPR points. So week 13 against the Dallas Cowboys, I said he had a feast like Ezekiel Elliott on Thanksgiving, 6 of 7 for 110 yards and 1 touchdown for 23 PPR points. Now, obviously, while I don't see him scoring 19 and 23 points this week, week and for the future. I still think he's safe at around 12, 13, 14 points every single game, so I definitely like him as a solid pickup for your flex and a guy that you can really rely upon every single week. Next wideout here, we got wide receiver James Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now him and Duck Hodges, the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, went out. They went hunting on Tuesday on their team's day off, and on Sunday they went hunting for a completely different thing, and they went hunting for some humans. They absolutely skull fucked the fucking Browns. If Juju misses more time, James Washington could be an amazing add. He has had 2 great games in a row, and I see no reason why he can't have repeat success for the next coming games if Juju is out. Now, he has had 2 great games in a row, like I said. Week 12 against the Cincinnati Bengals, 3 receptions on 7 targets for 98 yards and 1 touchdown, 18.8 PPR points. And week 13 against the Cleveland Browns, he had an even better game. 4 receptions on 4 targets, 4 for 4, like at Wendy's again, for 111 yards and 1 tutty, 21.1 PPR points. So a great game out of James Washington and a great game the week before that out of James Washington. So I really think that if Juju is going to be missing more time, I love James Washington this week if that is true. Now, the next wide out we got here is A.J. Brown, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. Now, I know if you've been following this channel for a while, you might be thinking, Nick, you dumb motherfucker, I know you hate A.J. Brown. What the fuck are you talking about? Telling me to add A.J. Brown? I know you don't like A.J. Brown. Oh boy, I'm fucking Mickey Mouse, you know what I'm saying? A.J. Brown, you'd be thinking that I hate him, and I do hate him, but at the end of the day, what I don't hate is scoring fantasy football points, and A.J. Brown has been scoring them fantasy points the last couple of games. Now, he seems to be Tannehill's favorite target on the team, because Corey Davis just has no hands, as we all know. 2 solid weeks in a row. Week 12 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4 receptions on 5 targets for 135 yards and 1 touchdown, 23.5 PPR points. And week 13 against Indianapolis, while it is a disappointment, he still played okay. 3 receptions on 4 targets for 45 yards and 7.5 PPR points. And if this Tennessee team keeps on rolling, they keep on chucking, they're trying to make the fucking playoffs, and Tannehill is playing like a goddamn legend. I believe that A.J. Brown could continue to have success as long as they are passing the ball in Tennessee. Now onto the tight end part of the video. So like I said, guys, if you have enjoyed thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you. Ryan Griffin, tight end of the New York Football Jets, with Chris Herndon gone. Ryan Griffin has been filling in well for him the last couple of games. Obviously, Chris Herndon never even fucking touched the field this year because everyone was saying, Chris Herndon's coming back. Chris Herndon's going to be fine. And then that motherfucker went on the IR. And we never saw him this year, but it's okay, because Ryan Griffin is just as good. Maybe not, actually. Chris Herndon is probably better, but it's okay, because Ryan Griffin is great for fantasy football in his last 6 games. Week 8 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4 for 4, like at Wendy's, for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns, 24.6 PPR points. Week 9 against the Miami Dolphins, 6 of 8 for 50 yards, 11 PPR points. Week 10 against the New York Football Giants, 1 for 1 for negative 2 yards, 0.8 PPR points. Obviously shit the bed there. Week 11 bounced back, though, against the Washington Redskins, 5 of 5 for 109 yards and 1 touchdown, 21.9 PPR points. Week 12 against the Oakland Raiders, 3 for 3 for 13 yards and 1 touchdown, 10.3 PPR points. At week 13 against the Cincinnati Bengals, 5 of 7 for 30 yards, 8 PPR points. So I think for the future, Ryan Griffin will be great for your fantasy football team. Even though he had a down game against the Cincinnati Bengals, I think that Sammy Mono and friends get it back, and they have the good next couple of games. And Ryan Griffin is clearly one of Sam Darnold's favorite targets in the red zone and outside of the red zone. Now, next tight end here is Jackie Doyle, tight end of the Indianapolis Colts. Now with Eric Ebron on the IR, Jack Doyle should be a top 12 guy pretty much every single week, and that would mean he should perform. Great stat line for his first game without Eric Ebron. Week 13 against the Tennessee Titans, 6 receptions on 11 targets. You heard that correct, folks. 11 targets for a tight end in Indianapolis. Jack Doyle for 73 yards and 1 touchdown, 19.3 PPR points. An absolute humongous game by big man Jack Doyle, and I think that he can continue to perform up to maybe not 19 points, but 10, 15 points every single game, so I really like him going forward. And my final tight end and my final waiver wire ad for the week is Mike Gesicki. Gesicki, tight end, Miami Dolphins. He has had 2 great games in a row now. him and Ryan Fitzpatrick have a great connection. And Mike Gesicki made the Philadelphia Eagles defense look silly this week. Week 12 against the Cleveland Browns, 3 receptions on 7 targets for 28 yards and 1 touchdown, 11.8 PPR points. So week 13 against the Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, he made those birds look silly. 5 receptions on 7 targets for 79 yards and 1 touchdown, 18.9 PPR points. So a great game from him. Him and Mr. Ryan Fitzmagic definitely have a great connection. And with the team looking as good as they look with Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, I see no reason why Mike Gesicki can't continue to have success for fantasy football. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you ended up enjoying, please make sure to knock one time on that subscribe button. I love each and every single one of you guys. Make sure to have a great rest of your day. Also check out overlaydfs.com. Link down below in the description. I love each and every single one of you guys. As always, goodbye, my friends.